When it comes to Israel's current war against Hamas, there is a clear gap between the sides on a moral level. One side, Hamas and its allies, seeks to murder civilians. That's why they slaughtered 1,400 innocent Jews in Israel and have planted their military sites directly in civilian areas while attempting to stop their own civilians from escaping those areas. Hamas openly acknowledges, they say, that they use civilians as human shields. The other side, Israel, seeks to save civilians. That's precisely why Hamas locates its military assets in civilian neighborhoods. If Israel were truly a human rights monster that didn't care about civilians, Hamas would have no incentive to shield its weapons with innocent Gazans. On the one side, Hamas has a health ministry that routinely lies. In 2014, for example, Hamas's interior ministry website issued instructions to online activists, including the following statements. These are direct quotes. Quote, anyone killed or martyred is to be called a civilian from Gaza or Palestine before we talk about his status in jihad or his military rank. Don't forget to always add innocent civilian or innocent citizen in your description of those killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza. They also say, quote, avoid publishing pictures of rockets fired into Israel from Gaza city centers. This would provide a pretext for attacking residential areas in the Gaza Strip, unquote. Because Hamas runs a tyrannical terror state, media members are routinely told what to report, which is why that same year, in 2014, the Washington Post admitted that when it comes to body counts, the Hamas health minister was, quote, the only game in town. They threatened reporters. That same minister acknowledged that he maximized the count of civilian casualties. The New York Times in 2014 recognized that Hamas inflates such statistics as well. The other side, Israel, is a democracy with high levels of transparency, a free press, a robust democracy with highly aggressive opposition parties. The current prime minister of Israel has been dragged by that media and opposition through scandal after scandal. That doesn't mean that Israel doesn't get things wrong. It does mean that Israel does not make lying its central principle in military matters. One side, Hamas and its esteemed colleagues in Palestinian Islamic Jihad, has a very long history of firing rockets that end up hitting their own people. In 2022, for example, Israel estimated that some 1/5 of all 1,000 Palestinian Islamic Jihad rockets fell within Gaza. During the current war, over 7,000 rockets have been fired at Israel. At least 400 of them fell short and hit Gaza. Here are just some video examples from the recent past.
On October 17th, Islamic Jihad destroyed a hospital in Gaza when a rocket aimed toward Israel misfired and landed in Gaza. This isn't the first time. While thousands of rockets are fired toward Israel, rockets fail. These failed rocket launches cause mass destruction and the death of countless innocent individuals inside Gaza.
Now, here's a map of all the failed launches during this war alone. You can see this map blankets the entire Gaza Strip from south to north. One side, Israel, has a precision military that seeks to hit as many military targets in as efficient a way as possible. That military routinely passes up shots on military targets if too many civilians will be harmed. We do things here pretty differently at the Daily Wire. We host several of the top news podcasts in the world. We launched a chocolate company overnight. We just took on Disney head-to-head by releasing 100 episodes of kids' content, tons of content. Well, that means that we're constantly growing. We're constantly seeking new hires, and we're constantly trying to upgrade the hires that we have. How do we do that? Well, we rely heavily on ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes your whole hiring process faster and easier. Their powerful technology works for you to identify people whose skills and experience match your job. And ZipRecruiter saves you time by letting you easily invite your top candidates to apply to your job, so they're more likely to apply sooner. ZipRecruiter is trusted by millions of people. In fact, over 3.8 million businesses trust ZipRecruiter with their hiring needs. Make a positive impact on your hiring future with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter will get a quality candidate within day one. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire to try ZipRecruiter for free. Again, that is ZipRecruiter.com/DAILYWIRE. ZipRecruiter is indeed the smartest way to hire. Go check them out right now. ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Are you a few years or decades out of school and wondering, what the heck did I even learn and what was the point? Well, if you went to a top-level Ivy League school, then probably you are. You might even be thinking, I don't have the time to learn something new. If that's you, you're not alone. It's not too late. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses. Learn about the works of C.S. Lewis, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, or the history of the ancient Christian church with Hillsdale College's online courses. If you're not sure where to start, check out Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the U.S. Constitution. In this 12-lecture course, you'll explore the design and purpose of the Constitution, the challenges it faced during the Civil War, and how it has been undermined for more than a century by progressivism and liberalism. The course is self-paced, so you can start whenever and wherever you want. Our country needs more Americans who actually understand the Constitution and understand American history and can defend our freedoms against the encroachments of an increasingly large and unaccountable government. Also, we just need more people who are educated, but not by our garbage colleges. Go to hillsdale.edu/Ben to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/Ben to enroll. Hillsdale.edu/Ben. Now, I've been showing you footage all week of the garbage that happens at America's college campuses. That stuff is not happening at Hillsdale. Go check out Hillsdale right now. Hillsdale.edu/Ben. So, with all of this said, naturally, when a hospital allegedly blew up in the Gaza Strip yesterday afternoon, and Hamas immediately claimed that the explosion was an Israeli airstrike and that 500 people had been killed, the media used their heads. They decided to wait for all the information to emerge because, Hamas are liars. Nah, just kidding. They went with Hamas's report because this is what they do. As it turned out, Hamas was, as usual, lying from beginning to end. A failed Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket hit the hospital. Actually, to be more accurate, it hit the parking lot next to the hospital, doing no apparent structural damage to the building. We still don't know how many people actually died. We don't know the real number of casualties. It took Israel weeks to determine how many people had died in the assault on its southern border. Hamas threw out the number 500 within 15 minutes of the rocket falling. There's only one reason the media jumped to listen to Hamas. The media have an insanely strong stake in creating moral equivalence between Israel and its terrorist opponents. They operate under a soft-headed mindset that seeks moral parity between parties to a conflict. But as it turns out, they only seek that moral parity when one of the parties is Jews. If we're talking about, say, Russia-Ukraine, the American media treat every Russian claim with a grain of salt and believe pretty much everything put out by the Ukrainian government. If we're talking about a full-on terrorist group that just slaughtered babies, however, our media are suddenly shockingly credulous. They suddenly believe what the terrorists have to say. How interesting. How revealing. What we're actually watching in real time as a genocidal Jew-hating terror group laundered a lie about a Jewish massacre of innocents at a Baptist hospital is what we call a blood libel. That term dates back to the year 1144 when Jew-haters charged the Jews of Norwich, England, with ritually murdering a young boy named William for religious purposes. Frequently, such blood libels claim that Jews used Christian blood to bake Passover matzah. Similar blood libels were used for centuries, all the way through the time of the Nazis. They are still repeated very frequently in Arabic language media in the Middle East. The goal is obvious, to turn the Jews into monsters and thus to justify their murder. Blood libels, historically, have led to pogroms, to expulsions, to genocide targeted against Jews. Blood libels end in actual blood. Now, the same is true right here. Hamas retailed a blood libel. This is a blood libel, and the media credulously picked it up. Their sudden credulity has consequences, very deep consequences. People are going to die because the media bit Hamas's hook here. But again, that's really nothing new. Legacy media hatred for the state of Israel is decades old, really dating back to the post-67 era, and has cost thousands of lives on all sides. If the West had taken seriously Hamas's own words, or for that matter, the words of the Palestinian Authority and Islamic Jihad, Israel never would have been forced into dangerous concessions to terrorist groups that have ended with thousands of deaths. But the media continue to pretend that moral equivalence is the story in the Middle East. It's a comforting, easy story. They lie, or at the very least, they pretend that Israel's enemies have serious credibility. Those lies cost blood. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.